And hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of One Take because life has no rehearsal. Today, we're going to talk to somebody who has had many lives and a big surprise. In the Miami art world, okay, if you tell somebody Mano is an engineer, nobody believes you. You can actually win a dinner by betting somebody dinner Mano is an engineer because he's a very famous painter. His studio was one of the key studios in the Bird Road Art District. Everybody assembled there once a month, uh, one of the Saturdays a month. It was great. And he was the nexus of a really big art movement in Miami. But he's an engineer, which nobody believes. So, anyway, Mano, it is great to welcome you. I am so thrilled that you agreed to participate in the podcast.
Marcelo, great to see you and thank you for the invitation. Really appreciate it.
No, it's absolutely great. So let's start. Let's start at the obvious one, right? You were a musician. You are an engineer. You're still a musician. You are a famous painter in Miami, and you're selling your artwork all over. Uh, you've probably had tons of decisive moments, but which one do you think defined the modern Mano?
I think, I look back and I review and think about my music uh, career. I am calling it a career because it went over, it went for quite some time. And in fact, I still play guitar. I still enjoy music. But, and engineering, I loved engineering. But I think the more I think about it, I think art is probably my greatest reinvention, if you want to call it that.
Well, you're gonna jump into it, both feet first. I mean, you had a full-fledged studio in an art center. I mean, how did that come about? How did you finally say, you know what, I'm gonna be an artist? How did
It
that happen?
it I think it turned out I always painted, I always sketched, and not as a real light hobby, let's call it that. But I always enjoyed it. Um, Late in my engineering career, I there was a little stress. The economy perhaps wasn't doing that well, et cetera, et cetera. And it came to a moment in my career as an engineer. And by the way, I was already painting a little bit more during that time because I felt the stress and I needed a relief. Uh,
Yeah.
and what happened is I was offered a transfer up north, and I had kids. Um, uh, I have my family, my mom and dad were here in Miami, and I really didn't want to move. So I said to myself, you know what? I think I'd like to reinvent myself, and I'm going to become an artist. And if I'm gonna become,
Wow.
and if I'm gonna, yeah, I know. Uh, and if I'm gonna become an artist, I'm gonna be a good artist, whatever that means, right? So I started giving it more attention. I started trying different things out, experimenting with art, and later on, one thing led to the other. I got my first really good opportunity for a local important institution, and but I didn't want to use my real name, which is Manuel or Manny or Manolo or Manolito. Yeah, I go through a bunch of names, so Mano did not exist at the time. I mean, some people call me Mano, but it
Yeah.
really didn't exist. I didn't really use it, and so I felt that I should not identify my work as Manny or Manuel or anything. And this opportunity presented itself. I didn't. It was a silent auction, okay, and I really didn't
Mhm.
want people to think, well, I know Manny,
Yeah,
I'm going to help him out. I wanted total. Um,
anonymity.
yeah, exactly. So I sounded Mano, and it was a total success. I mean, I have never seen a silent auction with so many bids for the painting. It had like
Wow.
three pages of bids, and I said, "Oh my God, I got something. There's something. This is good." So, and that was the beginning of it. And then from then on, I just said, "I'm gonna be an artist, and I'm gonna be as good as an artist as I can." And
No, that's absolutely great.
yeah,
So it's one of those things where it seems to be, it's in your case, and we had another guest in our podcast, Karen Lee Dunn, who's also transferred, she transformed herself from an international account director in a major ad agency, which is where I met her, into an international artist. She paints, she lives in San Miguel Allende, which is a beautiful place,
yeah,
and she paints and she sells all over the place. In both cases, yours and hers, it was, like a mix of passion and opportunity. She was offered a studio, a gallery, and with another friend, she said, okay, fine. And you were offered something in an institution. So I it seems to me that, you know, I don't know how to quite express it, but it is absolutely awesome that somebody will say, I am going to become an artist, period.
yes. It's a major career change because everything is different. You're working for yourself. The money is not the
Yeah.
same, you know.
No.
So you really have to think about it and just say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do it because this is what I love to do.
And you jumped into it, like that, feet first, burn your bridges kind of thing, which is, I also find that admirable, like admirable.
Yeah,
That somebody, because it's a big risk.
it is a big risk. Yeah, and I thought so at the time as well. But it was a career change that I decided to do, and you work towards a successful career change. And as it turned out, one thing led to the other. I mean, we started painting. I started doing shows, selling my work, and then we decided to open a gallery in Coral Gables. And it was a really nice gallery, and we would fill the gallery on gallery nights in Coral Gables, the first Friday of every month. It was packed, packed. People were coming out the doors. It was so busy, and we were there for about 5 years. Uh, and then I decided, you know what? Let's do something different. Let's open a studio, and that's where the Bird Road Art District came in. We I did my search for locations, and Wynwood was one. Of course, Wynwood was the mecca at the time, but we decided Bird Road has very affordable rents. It's industrial. It's an ugly warehouse, but I had 1,500 square feet of space, and that's after about, I think after about 3 years or so that we were there, we decided we're going to start an art walk because there was a
Yeah.
lot of artists in that area there, and some major artists, international artists, and so there was nothing foo-foo about the place. It was, you know, rough and,
I saw it.
rough and tough
I was,
warehouses.
I went to dozens of those artworks, and I remember meeting everybody, and that's why I said at the beginning, your studio was one of the seminal studios. Everybody kind of gathered, and then we went to other places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there were, yeah, I met an amount of interesting people in there. And if you remember, I even had my exhibit about Faces of Fetish when I did it. Oh my God, I forget his name. Eduardo, right?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
Eduardo. Yeah, at the his gallery. So you certainly leadered that art movement. I would say the counter Winwood, if you look at it. I mean, like Winwood became so commercial, and Winwood became so full of bars and restaurants, and it wasn't the art anymore. But in the Bird Road Art District, what you guys had was real art. People went to see the gallery.
It was real art. People loved going to the studios, seeing how the artist, painted and his messes, and how the people wanted to live that life
Yeah.
almost. It was amazing. And you know what? In less, I couldn't tell you offhand off the top of my head, but we in a very short time we were voted the best art walk in South Florida by the New Times, and we
Oh
were
wow.
we were so excited. Uh, People were coming to check out the artists in droves from as far north as Boca Raton. It was amazing. It was a fun time to be there and enjoy it.
And it was 100% art.
It was
There
100%
was
art.
no restaurants. It was that little corner thing that had some fritas or something like that,
Yeah.
Dominican food. That was it. There were no bars. There was nothing, just galleries and artists. So it was a fantastic time to meet people like you, and start talking to artists about their own art, which
Yes.
is what we're all passionate about. So of course, you've seen a lot of changes also. Well, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. The building where you were, which by the way was kind of weird, like it was kind of slanted, and like the first floor was kind of slanted. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Um, it got demolished, or it got sold, and everybody was kicked out, and development in Miami is like a major force. Look at Wynwood. I was part of the movement back when. Then all of the rents went up, and everybody was basically kicked out. And then the whole area was redeveloped, and it is now a whole bunch of stores.
Yeah.
There's no galleries anymore.
No.
So you went through that, but like, what other major changes have you not experienced? Because we all experience a change. What major change took you by surprise at some point? And of course, how did you react to it?
Well, what the biggest surprise was, as you mentioned, the building. Uh, a lot of the buildings in that area in the Bird Road Art District um, are owned by uh, the same people, the same company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of them are. And what happened is when they built these buildings back in the early '90s, I believe it was the area was a dump for
Yeah, it
for
was.
a lot of you know uh,
Body
refrigerators,
shops.
huh?
Yeah, they had body shops all over the place.
Yeah, and they would.
That area was dinky dinky to the max.
Yeah, and they dumped all that stuff there. And what happened is when the developer at that time came in, they thought, I guess at the time, uh, they thought that they could just compress all that junk and build on top of it, that it would sustain the weight of the building, and it did not. So what happened is the building started sinking, and half my studio was the floor was cracked
Yeah,
out of starting at three quarters the depth of the building of the floor, it started cracking. And when I went to rent the space, the one of the owner's son said to me, "Mano, you, we this thing is has a um, will probably in about 3 years we'll we'll knock it down. So don't expect much more than that." Well, as it turned out, I was there 16 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was forever.
Yeah, it was a nice long time, and in that time it sank 18 inches. So so the floor was angled 18 inches, and and you look at the beams up on the top holding the roof, because I was on the second floor. It had cracks, and what I did is I did like crosshairs on right on top of the crack, so that I could see, how much it was, you know, sinking. And at the end, just we left in August. It was about an inch that
Wow.
additional inch that is sank, which is quite a bit. So that was a fun thing, you know. Uh,
Okay. So let me ask you, because you know you go through that. So what is next?
wow.
Like, I know you have some things in storage, but like, what's next?
Well,
Because I don't believe that you're gonna just sit down and watch Netflix.
no, I don't think so either. Although I do love Netflix. There's some good series. Anyway, uh, I think I'm just going to, for now, what I'm doing is I'm just working out of the house and just sitting back and waiting for the right opportunity for a good place to open up. Uh, I don't think I'll be very lucky if I can find a place like I had at the Birdwood Art District. The rental was excellent. Uh, the camaraderie between artists was amazing. I mean, we would walk from one spot from one studio to the other, and have a cafecito, or do a tertulia, and we had so much fun. But at the same time, we got a lot of good work done. Uh, so to answer your question, I'm just waiting for the right moment, and before I make a move, and in the meantime, I'm painting from home.
Yeah, no, it must be difficult. I've been through that myself as a photographer, where like you're waiting for the right opportunity. So of course, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you find something in Coral Gables so that we can be near.
Yes,
Maybe
absolutely.
Coconut Grove or something like that. I don't know, something near.
Yeah.
Not Brickell, please, because Brickell the parking is like terrible, but and the traffic is awful. So just in closing, I'm old, you're old. I remember a friend of mine in Madrid last month saying, "We're getting old." And I said, "No, we're not getting, we got." But, it's one of the things, right? So we still have a huge amount of creativity, a huge amount of energy. You just look at you, and you see, like the energy and the creativity and the willingness to do stuff. But if you were sitting in front of a CEO, you've been an engineer, you're still an engineer, so you're still, like in that way corporate a bit, and you were advising a CEO about hiring, like older executives or something, what would you say is the biggest strength of older workers?
I think as you grow older, um, not that I'm old, you become wiser. You have all that experience under your belt, and face it, it's not all. It doesn't have to be all technical, but dealing with people, you always have to deal with people. You nowadays you have chat GPT, and you have AI that you can revert to, and not you know the important thing is that you continue to be uh, to enjoy that challenge. But I think a CEO hiring an older person, I think that's a really good thing. You have a lot of experience under your belt. You and you can certainly use that experience to to the best of your ability to do something with it. Uh,
No, great. So, well, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I really hope that you find a studio here in Coral Gables, so I don't have to drive that much. It Miami traffic is killing us,
yeah,
and I definitely want to see more art in Miami. We need it. We need art in Miami.
we certainly
I
do.
think art elevates us as people,
Yes,
and it elevates our spirit. So that's something that people like you contribute heavily to. So
thank you.
Mano, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and then we'll definitely see each other in Miami.
Thank you, Marcelo. It was amazing and awesome talking to you. And we need to do this more often.
We should. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.